School is a place where students come to receive education that would help them achieve success in their future. School is supposedly a friendly environment where students can interact with each other and not worry about outside distractions. Each and every student has dreams and aspirations to do something special with their life. What if I were to tell you that all those aspirations could be snatched away as fast as you dreamt of them? Over the past 3 years, there has been a significant increase in drug involvement in school. Drugs have not only become stronger and more addictive, but they're also more accessible. Drugs that used to exist in every school, such as marijuana and ecstasy, have been toppled by prescription drugs. Drugs such as codeine, Adderall, and Molly are the main drugs that are used by students today. Not only are these drugs more accessible, but they're also severely dangerous to one's health. As a community, we need to come together and find a way to deal with this serious issue before it gets out of hand. This is not something that should be taken lightly. We are talking about students' lives here. School is no place for drugs to exist. Now, you may be wondering, what has caused this sudden uproar of kids using drugs at school? There are a lot of factors that play into this. One of the biggest and most obvious factors is pop culture and the media. A study that was conducted by the National Survey of American Attitudes on Substance Abuse reveals that teens that have seen pictures on social media of other teens using drugs, drinking, or passed out are 4 times more likely to have used marijuana, 3 times more likely to have consumed alcohol, and almost 3 times more likely to have used tobacco. Not only does the media portray this image of drugs being a good thing, pop culture also has a big influence. A lot of the TV shows, movies, and songs that kids listen to and watch show people using drugs. For example, Future, who is an inspiring and up-and-coming rapper, has constantly rapped about using drugs in his songs. Future has even made a song that is called Codeine Crazy. This song is all about Future's experiences with lean, aka syrup or purple drink, which are all slangs for the mix of codeine cough syrup and a soda. Notice how the beat and Future's delivery gives a chill vibe to it, just like lean gives you. That same chill vibe is what is attaching students into the idea of using this prescription drug. Future is a pop culture icon and someone that a lot of people look up to. If kids see him doing drugs, it just makes them want to do drugs more, as they all want to be like Future. So as you can see, pop culture and the media portray an image of drugs being just a part of a lifestyle. Kids are going to listen to what the media says, and since the media portrays this image, there is a highly likely chance of them doing drugs. Another huge reason why there has been such an uproar in drugs in school is how easily accessible they are. Kids can literally get all these prescription drugs from their parents' medicine drawers. They get the drugs from there, and then they distribute it to people at school. Statistics show that almost half, 44%, of high school students know where and how they can access drugs. This is a problem that needs to be resolved sooner or later. To validate the reason to have an awareness to stop drugs in school, we have 2 experts who will go into full detail stating their opinion on this topic. The first person interviewed is Miss Murray. She is a guidance counselor at Orchard Park Secondary School. She sees and deals with kids' problems every day.
Right, so have you heard of the recent substance abuse cases in our school?
We had some discussion among the staff who were kind of suspicious about some things that were going on, so they shared some information, with our colleagues just to be more aware. We talked specifically about some slushy drinks that have been coming in the school with the nice weather, and I'm a big fan of slushies, as summer comes on for sure. So I wouldn't have thought of it without a colleague discussing what could, if students potentially were putting something into the slushies and then coming into classes. So we definitely had a conversation with the staff to make everyone aware and how we can all kind of help support our students.
Now, how did this issue come to light? Like, what's initially caught your attention?
Yeah, I think that there was some students that, there was a couple of teachers that realized that students were bringing something into the school. And so those students were being, families were being contacted and home was involved, so that we could help support those students. But then once one thing happens with one student, you're like, oh, everyone might be doing this or could potentially do this. So let's make sure that everyone's aware of it so that we can, make sure that's not something we want to be a part of our school community.
Well, in your opinion, does this affect education anyway?
100%. Yep. I think that every student wants to be able to learn their best and perform, as best they can to their full potential in their classroom. So anytime a student's using any kind of substance, it's definitely going to be not only impacting their individual learning and their achievement, it also influences the rest of the class. It could be because the student is acting differently and distracting students around them, but it also could be because other students in the class might know something, and that just changes the whole culture. So then all of a sudden no one's focused on the English lesson anymore, right? Or whatever subject it is, and everyone's looking at that person or wondering what's going on with that. So I think there's a number of negative side effects, not only to the individual user, but also to the rest of the classroom.
Now, are you aware of the street names or the names we as students use to call these narcotics?
I'm not very familiar with drugs in general. So one of the staff did mention a name that they were calling these concoctions, like in the slushy. So, but I actually don't remember it right now.
Does the name lean sound familiar?
That's it, yeah.
Do you know what's it made of?
No, I don't.
Well, it's basically Sprite and codeine or any kind of painkiller or cough syrup, that kind of thing. So
right. And sorry, that was covered at the meeting. I just was forgetting it.
Well, what are your opinions on abusing prescription drugs?
I think that it's a big concern. Like, I think that it's sad, and anyone, like students are one thing, but it is becoming more common in our society. Like, just as a society, it's more common for people to be stealing prescription drugs, and there's been just more, I think, coverage in the media with it as well. So I'm not sure if that has an influence on students, kind of being aware that it is an option even. But I think that it's because they're so addictive. Like, it's not, again, I'm not a user of drugs, but I know, some people casually smoke weed and don't feel a dependence on it, where prescription drugs have a lot more addictive qualities. So we do have some support from the school, like some students will come and talk about substance abuse, and we have counselors that can kind of specifically target their needs. But this is one that just seems to have, emerged recently, and it's just kind of, we're in the beginning stages.
Well, how easy do you think it is to acquire these drugs?
I think that if they're in the home and they're not locked up, then kids have access to them. But it's the same way that kids have access to, if their parents keep a lot of cash in the house, if they keep a gun that's not securely locked up. So I think that every family is responsible for ensuring that their kids are safe, just the way that we're responsible to ensure that our school is safe. So if students are getting something, however they're getting it, street, home, wherever, and bringing it to the school, now it's our problem and our responsibility to make sure that it's not coming in, right? And the kids that are using it are getting support because they need it.
Also, do you believe that the abuse and use of prescription, non-prescription drugs may lead to violence in the school environment?
I think that there's a high correlation between drug use and violence. And I'm not trying to stereotype, anyone, student or otherwise, who uses drugs, but there is a positive correlation between the two. And I think that anytime anyone is under the influence of any substance, alcohol, narcotics, whatever it is, their mind is altered. That's a fact. And so they might be less likely to follow society's expectations or school rules. So yes, I do think that using substances and, lean as a new substance in our school community or introduced in our community, I would worry how anyone would react. And to be honest, I would also worry about the person's health, right? Some people have reactions to drugs and they don't expect it or know it, and they're young and they're trying it and whatever. Cardiac arrest is a major concern as well. So there's a number of concerns.
Now, do you believe that the use of drugs in school may lead, or foster an interest in harder drug use in the future?
Yeah, so like I said, I don't know a lot about lean. So taking prescription drugs, having codeine with addictive qualities, mixing it into a slushie, this just sounds like a gateway. Do you know what I mean? It's a slushie. It's just a slushie. And someone, in high school, we know that many people, especially in grade 9 and 10, but 11 and 12 for sure, are influenced by their peers. So the one friend might be getting the drug, but sharing it with others, and those others don't even necessarily know what's in it, know really the qualities or the effects that it will have. And so they're all at risk, they're all at equal risk.
So it's like older students are kind of making an impression on these more impressionable grade 9s and 10s, kind of like promoting the use?
I would say that any person who is acquiring the drugs on their own, regardless of grade, they could be in grade 9, they could be in grade 12, maybe introducing other people to it. So I'm not actually, I have no idea if it's an age thing, if it's like older pressuring younger, but kids are pressured by their peers in their same grade just as often. Actually more than in like varying grades. So yeah.
And do you believe that the media has anything to do with the rise in substance abuse in school, like music or just pop culture in general?
I just find that lately there's been more attention to prescription drugs specifically. Like I don't know the facts or data, but I just feel like in the news I've heard more cases where people are, whether they start as painkillers, like athletes, there's a number of athletes very recently that have, for example, like they're athletes and they, in the NFL, for example, have millions of dollars, but they so need these drugs that they're robbing pharmacies. And they're prescription drugs. I forget what it's called, starts with an F. Fentanyl, something. It's a painkiller, and they use it because they're in pain, and then they get addicted to it and they can't stop. So I just feel like there's more of that talk about there, and so students may not have thought before, oh, I could also get high with this. It's in my mom's cabinet and she's not on them anymore and she won't notice they're gone anymore and I can crush them and do things with them. Now all of a sudden it's an option because they heard it from somewhere else. So I'm not sure, I'm not blaming music or anything, but I think that, we're creatures of our society and we can't help but be influenced. I personally have noticed a rise in the news with people using prescription drugs, so that's what I thought of actually when I heard about lean. I was like, oh, I think maybe it's becoming more common in our society now.
Alright, that's it? You're good?
What about Adderall?
Oh yeah, so have you heard of Adderall?
No, I haven't.
So it's supposedly this ADHD medication that helps you concentrate.
Focus?
Yeah, focus. But students, especially in university level, have been known to take this to, I guess, help in one-nighters. Like, you take this drug and you do nothing but study. You do nothing but what you think you want to do. Like, what do you think about this?
So in the university scene, that is very common. They sometimes will sell them illegally, obviously, at the libraries. I just know from talking to university students currently. It was Ritalin before, so if Adderall is kind of replacing as a focus drug. I haven't seen it come into our high school. You guys might know differently, but I haven't sort of seen too much of it. But it is very prevalent at university, and a lot of people promote it as a great option to focus their learning. Personally, I'm a bit of a hippie, and I don't think that, I don't even drink coffee. Like, I don't think that any substance, if there's something that you struggle with, you should probably go to bed and sleep, or you should probably drink more water or something. So I'm definitely biased, like I recognize that. But I have peers and I know, people that are good friends that feel like taking medication to fill in the gaps in their abilities is a useful tool.
Well, do you see these, I guess, enhancers as sort of a unfair advantage for the people that don't use them?
I guess it is an unfair advantage, but the consequences outweigh the benefits. So just like any professional athlete is at a huge disadvantage for not taking steroids, in the long term, even if they were legal, it's going to have terrible effects on your body and your health in general. So yes, it is a disadvantage to not be able to focus for 24 hours a day, right? If I could not sleep every day, I would have an advantage over everyone because I could just do more in the day. But the long-term results aren't going to be worth it.
So costs outweigh the benefits.
Right.
All
I
right.
agree.
All right. Thank you.
Second person interviewed is Mr. Barzetti, who is the principal at Orchard Park Secondary School.
All right. So, why did you decide to ban all drinks within the school?
All drinks in classrooms was never an option. Our rule was water only in the classrooms, no foods, no pop, stuff like that. I can see how sometimes it becomes an issue because I see teachers walking in with coffee, so I know that some kids were complaining about that, saying, well, the rule should be for everyone. And we mainly did it because health and safety. It's not healthy to have food, crumbs around in a classroom, spillage, right, and all that kind of stuff, and pop gets sticky, water doesn't. And we know around this time of year it gets hot. So September and then May and June are always kind of hot months. So we kind of let it slide, and we've really let it slide. So I've seen the slushies, I've seen the iced cappuccinos come in. We've let it go a bit, but we've tightened it up lately.
All right. So, there's recently rumors about students possibly abusing prescription drugs like codeine. Does this, by any chance, have anything to do with the banning of drinks?
We've heard out there, and in a couple of instances we've seen it happen, where kids have been bringing in a concoction, basically prescription drugs, and mixing it in. Sometimes we hear it's rumors, sometimes we see that the kid is not being him or herself, so they're on something. We're not sure if it's prescription drugs, or if it's just regular illegal narcotic drugs, or if it's alcohol. But we're hearing rumors that they're bringing it in within the slushy kind of drinks, so we want to obviously control that, especially if it's happening right under our noses. So what I've done is literally gone back to just water in the classrooms, which was the rule anyways, right?
Has something like this happened before, or was this the first year?
When I first started as principal, I heard of these kind of situations where it comes to, I know people were using over-the-counter medication, mixing it into their drinks and then making the drink more potent and toxic. Obviously, you have dangerous effects from that. So that was way back, we're talking 8 years ago. Since then, I haven't heard of anything, and now it's coming back, right? And it's the big thing now, if you notice in the news, the number one overused drug for teens is prescription medication that they're stealing from parents, right? So you gotta lock your medicine cabinets kind of thing now.
Do you think the media shedding light on this issue has anything to do with the trending?
Yeah, you don't know. Like you tell people not to do something, but you're making them aware that something is there. So, and it could get really dangerous. Not to say that narcotic drugs aren't dangerous. Of course they are. Not to say alcohol is not dangerous. Of course it is. But when you start messing around with prescription drugs, that's nothing good can come out of that.
Well, what are your personal opinions on students that abuse prescription drugs?
Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, don't do any type of drug, alcohol. As you get older and of age, when you can start drinking and stuff like that, I get it. We were all there. But to do it in school, at least I can control it. So, I mean, I can't control, I hope, the only way I can control kids from doing it outside of school is through education. Educating them, saying, don't do drugs because it's bad. But within the school, I like to say, I think I can control it. So if the rumor exists out there that kids are bringing drugs into the classroom via drinks, well, I just stop it by saying no drinks, right?
So you think this is an issue that you should, that everyone should nip in the bud before it gets out of hand?
Yeah, I think anytime you hear drugs being used at school or alcohol and stuff like that, you get on it, right? You get an awareness kind of campaign. People don't know how bad it is until somebody really gets hurt.
Have you seen something like that? Or heard of?
Yes. That's all I can say is yes.
All right, thanks, sir.
Okay?
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Drugs in school is a serious issue that needs to be dealt with. The longer we wait, the more amount of lives are lost. So act quickly and try to make a change in your community.